All right, people. Here we are, man. Uh, Getting ready to do a quick. It's a quick episode of Red, White, and Ruthless. I'm gonna pour me a drink here while we're opening up this show with the song. And today, a lot of you wanted a little bit of prison stuff, so we're gonna give you a little bit, and it's gonna be it's gonna be about probably the I don't know my most memorable time at uh, in prison, where I guess it was movie like. That's what I thought anyway. Like after thinking back on it, let me shut my song down real quick. Um, yeah, so after I thought about it, I was like, wow, man, that is kind of like that's kind of movie like, it's kind of it's kind of cool. Um, so we probably ought to start out with a lot of you are prison guards, so you know what time it is, and this is it'll just I'm telling you stuff that y'all already know, but there's folks that don't really know how things work in prison, so we'll kind of run through it, and and it'll bring back some memories for those of you who are retired, and maybe if you're still working, then you'll know what I'm talking about. So in prison, the uh, there's obviously gangs, especially in California, and especially if yeah, all right, now we're ready. Especially if you're in like more level three, level four. Levels go one through four. Low B, excuse me, one being the lowest, or I guess the safest. If your staff normally don't have as many problems in level ones, and you go to level four, which is your highest security prison. You got real shitheads in there. I started as a excuse me at a level four in 1993, and you got your gangs in prison, and in this case, we're going to talk about a white boy. And the gangs kind of I'm not man. It's like they got their own political system in there, and I'm not going to lay all that stuff out. I That's a different different show, um, or a different podcast. But um, what one of the things, and I'll kind of confirm a couple things that people who don't work in prisons, may or may not know. I mean, you probably should know it because it's one thing in like the movies that is true. If you're like a pedophile or something like that, you're, I mean, you're not going to have, you're not safe in a main line. A main line means general population. Normally, those guys, and this is after 93, after I started, they developed more like PC yards. I forget the acronym now for it, but we used to send them to a PC yard, and there's prisons that are basically all PC, and then again it's another show, but even in the PC yards they got their own gangs going and shit like that. So there's it's all crazy no matter where you're at. But yeah, truth, if you're a pedophile, you're not safe in prison, and there's other things that other situations that you'll get into, like you have drug debts, or you disrespect another gang or race, or what have you. It's or you're having problems with your own race. You don't do something that you're told to do. If you're told to attack a particular person, or in a particular situation, like it's like smash on sight. I mean, it's like if you see this dude, or if you see like if you're a southern Mexican and you see a northern Mexican, it's like on site you're supposed to attack that person if you have the opportunity. And if you don't, then you get dealt with by your own people. Okay, so these are all like just some of the many rules that are in prison for the prison gangs. And and so what happens if you don't follow the rules? Okay. Well, you get you're dealt with. Okay, but this was a bigger picture that I'm going to talk about. Okay, it's a white boy, and he was running the facility C. So when I say running uh, a facility, I mean, I'm sure you think, well, aren't the guards running the facility? Well, yes and no. Um, you get, if you're running the facilities, they call that, you got the keys to the yard. Okay, so that means you're you're taking care of that yard for your your gang. Like in this case, the Aryan Brotherhood, this guy was supposed to be representing the AB, the whites on that yard, and he answered to the guys who are running the Aryan Brotherhood, locked up in Shoe and Pelican Bay, or Corcoran, or what have you. And so if he's not doing what he's supposed to do, well, eventually he gets dealt with. Okay. And in this case, I work facility C at Calipat, and the white boys were known as being weak on that yard. And when I say weak, they're not doing what they're supposed to. So what that means is, like, if there's a pedophile in the yard, pedophile gets dealt with, meaning pedophile gets stabbed. Okay. You're at a level 4. Honestly, there's probably fights, very few fights, a bunch of stabbings. Okay. Way more stabbings than there were fights. Okay. If there's reason to get busy, it's just get a weapon and get busy. Okay. That's just the way it was. I was astounded I was thinking, I never saw a lot of fights going on here, but there sure is a hell of a lot of stabbings. Well, that's how you get dealt with. So like I say, facility C was weak. It was known as being weak. What happened, what started happening is, as word came down from the SHU, meaning the people who are running the whites in the prison system, period, not just my prison or that prison, but in the prison system, that C Yard was weak. And so it kind of started with the white boys that were getting locked up into our ADSEG. ADSEG is where you go if you get in trouble. Out on the main line, you get locked up into ADSEG. Well, what was going on is, any white boy that got locked up in that ADSEG got the shit kicked out of him by the other whites. They had it coming. That was a smash on sight situation. I mean, they're locked up in there, but they do get yard together. So they knew they had it coming. You got locked up from C Yard and you went to the SHU. So that was just the very beginning of it. Okay. So they start smashing these dudes. But eventually I had to lead back to the yard, and it didn't take long. Okay. Cause word travels fast. And I'm sure C Yard already knew. But one day we'll get to the story, but so one day I'm a gunner on C Yard. And so what a gunner does is, there's 5 buildings on a yard, and there's, out of the back window, there's a sliding door directly below this window that's, like, say, second story. Well, it is a second story. And you'll have a gunner that has a lethal weapon that is basically shooting out the back of that window over the entire yard. And there'll be 5 of those on the yard. In addition to that, there'll be a yard gunner that is on top of what was like the Charlie Yard admin building. It was he would be second story too, but he was up on the roof. He had a booth up there. So there's 6 guns on the yard, plus, and I'm talking again, lethal weapons. Then there's 5 more guns inside the unit. And when I say guns, there's people manning guns. So there's really a total of 11 lethal weapons. I mean, 2 guys could potentially be shooting out the back window. But that's really not the intent, because if shit's kicking off on the yard, you have a day room going on too, and it could be a distraction on the yard to do something in the building. So the guy who's got the gun in the building wants to pay attention to what's going on in the building, not go over and, check out what's going on the yard or shoot out there. But any rate, it gives you kind of layout of the land. Prison guards, y'all know this shit. So I'm the yard gunner, and all of a sudden, the alarm goes off, and which, not unusual. I didn't see shit happen. So whatever happened must have been quick, and everybody gets down. So the actual alarm came from C5. So, but it wasn't in the building, it was outside the building. So I'm looking down to C5, and I see this white boy standing, and he's leaking bad out in the back. He got lit up. He got stabbed in the back, and he's leaking real bad. He's got blood dripping down his back, and he's standing there, but he's standing there all by himself. Okay. Everybody else, he had walked over there and showed the gunner that he got stabbed in the back. Okay. He turned around, showed him, and stood there. And the gunner in C5 activated the alarm, which is obviously what you do if you see an inmate that's been stabbed. All movement freezes, inmates get down on the yard. And in this case, the guy that got stabbed was the shot caller of the white boys. All right. So people knew that right away, because everyone knows who the shot caller is, or you should fucking know, if you're on that yard in the building or whatever. You're sleeping on the job if you don't. But anyways, this dude, he got ventilated by somebody, and he was standing there, and the yard was fucking quiet. I mean, nobody was talking. Okay, absolutely nobody. It was eerie quiet. Now, a lot of times it'll be quiet because, and when I say quiet, but there'll be people still talking. I mean, it's not loud and, I guess people yelling and all that when a normal alarm goes off. There's potentially some of that shit, but this was just nobody was talking. And I was like, fuck, what's going on, And of course, I looked down there, and right away, we're like, hey, I forget what his name is, whatever his nickname is. And so we all knew it was the shot caller of the whites. And so they had, staff running down there, and they gaffled him up and started walking him off the yard. Now, C5 is the farthest fucking building on C yard, or on any yard, really, the 5 number, that you can get. So he's all the way down at the far end of the yard, and he's got to do essentially the walk of shame, gaffled up, because number one, if you get stabbed in prison, you don't go tell a cop. I mean, that's just number one. That's not what you do. That's like being a pussy. All right, that'll get you stabbed too. You just don't go run to a cop and say, "Ooh, I got stabbed." You just don't do it. You'll get, now it's understandable if you're laying on the ground and you're leaking bad and you can't move and cops get to you, and that we know. But if you're able to just put some fucking tape on it, or whatever, close it up to where it's not leaking, and get back to your cell, that's what you do. Okay, you don't go run and tell a cop. All right, it's just not what you do. There's guys who I've had guys that I found with stab wounds that were scabbed over they never, we didn't know about it. All right. So because if you're stabbed, you get locked up. You don't stay on the main line. We don't give you a band-aid and say, hey, you'll be all right. You get locked up. We do investigation on who stabbed you, why they stabbed you. We want to know what the fuck's going on. Is there racial tension? Is there, is it drug debt? Is it, what the hell is it before we release that yard? So we're doing shit. We're locking down that yard and figuring shit out. But in this case, the dude was the shot caller, and that was his exit off the yard. That was the white boys telling him, you got to go, bro. You ain't been handling shit, and you got to go. So he knew he couldn't stay on the yard. He'd get killed if he was on the yard. They lit him up pretty good, but there was no way he could just suck it up and go. I mean, he was gonna get removed. That was them removing him from the yard, and that's what you call it, is removing him from the yard. They want him gone. They want new blood in there to to run the white boys. And so let's get to the walk of shame. Like I say, it was so fucking quiet as they gaffled this dude up and were walking him off the yard. All the races were like, whoa, they were tripping on the white boys, they knew. But and maybe some of the other ones, knew too. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I could say this, that they were not saying shit. They were wondering what the fuck's gonna happen. Because the whole political situation changes on a yard when you get new leadership like that. Okay, that means, and that did happen. They got some hardcore white boys in there that were running shit, and I'll go into a little bit of that shit, right? Too, because it's kind of interesting. So what was happening is, like I say, they were there, and I'll give you an example of like my own unit, because I saw it. We had a porter in there. I was gonna say his name, but I'm not gonna say his name because I don't know if they killed that fucker or not. I who knows? But he was a pedophile. Everybody knew he was a pedophile. He was doing legal work for the Mexicans. Okay, so essentially the Mexicans were kind of keeping him alive, because he was doing that legal work. They preferred the white boys not take him out, but that's not how the fuck it works. Okay, you don't get to just say, hey, can you hold off on stabbing up that fucking pedophile and C3 till he's done with our legal work? It's not the way it works. You're a white boy. Your obligation is to stab that motherfucker when you see him. When you find out he is a pedophile, you verify that shit, and they do that. They check paperwork. They know who you are. So when I say checking paperwork, when you go to prison, first thing guaranteed, you land in a reception yard, you land in a main line. Well, they're gonna know when you come, but you got to show your paperwork. There's what's called the 128G. All you prison guards know this shit. But there's a G, they want to see your G. And what that means is that's your history of what you got going on, basically in prison history, your criminal history. And it'll say on there that if you have crimes against children, it's going to say on there. You're a sex offender, it's going to say on there. So that's what they want to know. And when you roll up into a prison, there's going to be, and if say me, I'm a white boy, I roll up in prison, I'm going to have a couple white boys, one or two white boys coming up and say, hey, where's your paperwork? And I better have that shit pretty fucking quick. Because if I don't, I'm getting lit up anyways. All right. So that's what I'm talking about. They're going to know. So in this case, just because this dude was doing some legal work for the Mexicans, didn't matter. Their obligation was to light this dude up, and it didn't happen. And that's just one example. They weren't dealing with shit overall they weren't handling business. All right. So anyways, so dude got the word, or white boys got the word to deal with this dude. And like I say, the white boys were getting their asses handed to them in the AdSeg anyways. So so it was going to happen eventually. So it did happen. And like I say, I was gonna go into, I got sidetracked there, but go into what kind of came of that yard. So in my unit, I get two white boys from Pelican Bay. They rolled up shortly after that, both from the shoe, and they ended up on my yard. And word was out immediately that these guys were there to deal with Charlie Yard. They're hardcore convicts, and they were there to deal with people. And so my entire fucking unit was, I mean, they were on eggshells because they didn't know how these dudes were going to handle shit. All right. So I went up and talked to them, and I'm like, hey, and this is what guards do. I mean, it is what it is. It's like, hey, let's have a conversation. I know you guys are here, out of shoe. I know you guys are here to deal with get these fucking white boys in line, and you're going to do your prison shit. However, you're going to do your prison shit. All right. But I like my watch to be clean. I like shit not happening on my watch. You do your background on me. You figure me out, and then we'll see how the shit works. And that's a conversation. And does that mean anything to them? I don't know. Do we have the conversations? Of course we do. Because that's what guards do. That's basically me checking in on you, letting you know I know what time it is, and we've got our eye on you. Because remember what I told you is there's a cop with a gun in the control booth. So me letting them know I know what they're about is also giving them warning. Don't fuck around. We on my watch know what's going on, and we got our eye on you. Not a threat. It's just saying, because we got a job to do. They got a job to do. And how do we do these jobs, and intermix or intermingle, I guess, is for them to figure out. As officers, we're going to do whatever fuck we got to do. And, it was very good. The message was received very well from them. It's like, hey man, we know that you don't trip on small shit. We don't, and when I say that, it's like, I don't, and anybody in a level 4 who knows a fucking thing will tell you this. Because if you're a guy who runs around and every time you smell pruno or every time you see a fresh tattoo, you're searching for a tattoo gun, or all this shit, that's sweating the small shit. All right. So I didn't necessarily sweat the small shit. That's not to say if you were an asshole and you were drunk on pruno. Now I'll give you a quick story on this. I get sidetracked with this shit, you guys. Okay. But I gotta tell you this. So funny story about, I don't know if it's funny or not, but anyways, story about pruno. All right. I had this Mexican dude was drunk as a motherfucker. He was my porter. All right. Drunk as a motherfucker, belligerent as hell. He was an asshole. And let me tell you what, man. This dude, we got along, I mean, he was fine till he was fucking drunk. Dude got drunk. I had to clear out the fucking day room, lock everyone up, because this one asshole porter was just being an asshole, yelling, screaming. And I didn't want, I mean, we had a fucking gun up there, so it's not like he's going to get very far or do too much. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to get to push the issue. That's not my job, is to push him into something. So we're being calm and shit. And I thought, and this is where the politics of shit works out. And if you're smart, you work the fucking politics. Okay. So politics are, I got this guy being an asshole. So I go up and I talk to the shot caller in the Mexican shot caller in my unit, because he sees what's going on. Everybody's at their door seeing this guy being an asshole. He's refusing to lock up. He's drunk. That's a green light for me. If I need to, just hit my alarm, and we're going to come in and beat the hell out of the dude and gaffle him up and take him to AdSeg if we need to. All right. But I didn't want to push it that far. He's just drunk. I just wanted him back in his cell. Okay. So I'm trying to deal appropriately because that puts me in a better situation with the essentially the gangs, and I get a little credit for handling myself that way. Okay. And when you work in a prison like that with cops getting stabbed, I mean, I can't tell you, there was probably 15 cops stabbed there while I worked there. And that may be a low estimate. So you kind of look for ways to engage and not be that guy that creates problems. You're the one that solves problems, and you want to allow them to deal with you like that. Anyways, I go up and I talk to the shot caller, who I had a good rapport with. Still remember the guy's face. I mean, he was actually, as far as convicts go, he was all right. Never did me wrong. So I went up and told him, and I'm like, dude, man, you got to deal with this guy. And my control booth officer, don't let him out. I'm like, fuck you, man. I'm gonna handle this floor. You just push buttons. And I said, listen, I'm gonna let you out and go talk to him and see if you can get him back in the cell, because plan B is ass whooping. All right. And I don't really want to do that. So anyways, I popped him out, and he went down and he talked to him, and he did his absolute best to get this dude to lock up. But dude wouldn't lock up. He was like, fuck this, blah, 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 and all that shit. So anyways, I'm like, all right, well, hey, I mean, it is what it is. And so he went back to his cell. But what that did is that gave me and the guys in green absolute green light to do whatever the fuck we needed to do to get him back locked up. And we always have the green light to do that. But I will also tell you that using that green light in a situation where they don't necessarily see it will get you stabbed. And it did. And that will, our biggest staff assault, 6 cops were stabbed in one. So I'm getting way off fucking track here, but this shit's a little interesting. So 6 cops were stabbed because they didn't feel that one of our cops dealt with it was a black dealt with a black guy I guess correctly. Took him down. I think his leg or arm or some shit got broken, and that resulted in them attacking us and stabbing 6 of our cops. I don't have an opinion on whether that didn't happen correctly. I wasn't there, but I just know that's what the story was, and that's what ended up happening. And I'm not going to get into that shit, but that created a whole new problem at Corcoran. And sorry about that, guys. But anyways, back to the story. Yeah, we got off track, man. Sorry about that. Anyways, I got these two woods in these 2 peckerwoods that I just dealt with. Peckerwoods, that's another name for white boys who are, down for the race, shit like that. Anyways, so you call them peckerwoods. But anyways, these 2 peckerwoods are up in their cell, and I talked to them. All is good. As far as at least we've had that conversation. The building is on, building is not the inmates are not feeling good, the white boys, because some white boys weren't doing what they're supposed to do. Matter of fact, one of them, I can't remember his name, but I remember his face too. He was the shot caller of that building, and instead of lighting this one pedophile up, he would go over and just take the pedophile's TV and use it. He's like, that's your rent, Well, that's not what he's supposed to do. That's weak. You don't get to take their TV. What you do is you get them removed from the yard. All right. So he just, he wasn't handling shit, correctly. And he is one that got dealt with. He got the absolute shit kicked out of him, and he ended up getting locked up. And he got the dog shit kicked out of him when he went to ADSEC. So yeah, that's kind of the way shit works. But way back to my, I don't know if I guess I did finish the first story, them walking that dude off the yard, and it was so just deathly quiet, absolutely deathly quiet. It was crazy. But yeah, that's kind of how transition happens in prison. When you got a shot caller not doing what they're supposed to do, according to prison rules. I don't make the fucking prison rules. I know what they are. I know what they're supposed to do, but sometimes they don't do that shit, and that's what happens. And I don't think there's too many people who have an issue with, for example, pedophiles getting stabbed. I don't care. It is what it is. I could say that now. I couldn't say that, 5 years ago. I got to be more politically correct. Fuck that now. You're a pedophile. I got no fucking use for you. If you get stabbed, I don't care. Is what it is. And that's probably terrible to say, but man, the damage that pedophiles do to these little kids, and it pisses me off, man. I mean, yeah, it pisses me off. I'm getting pissed off right now. But anyways, I don't care. Don't give a fuck. If you're a pedophile, go get stabbed in prison. It's the way things go. We've seen we've seen, and I don't know if y'all have seen it, but there was this dude on we're just gonna talk shit right now, I guess, because I'm rolling with it. So there was this dude on TV, and this dude he was in a California prison. He was a white boy, and he had killed his cellie, beat the fuck out of him, strangled him to death, and just let him lay there till the cops found him the next morning. And when he went to the judge, and he straight up told him, the guy was doing life anyways. All right. And so he told him, he's like, this pedophile had came into the cell and tried to justify what he did. In other words, sexually assaulting, molesting this young, child. And the dude dealt with him, and he said he tried to do that. I told him to shut up. He wouldn't do it. He kept talking. I told him to be quiet. I don't want to hear it. Then I told him he's going to have to go in the morning, and he kept talking. And when I say he's got to go, the guy told him, you're going to have to move out of this cell. So he's already giving him a break. He's telling him that me and you ain't good now. Okay. So I'm going to give you tonight, but you got to go in the morning. And guy kept talking. And so he waited till he went to sleep. He got down there. I guess the guy was a little bigger than him. So he needed to have a little, he needed a little something extra. So I guess he kind of bashed him in the head a little bit and knocked him out. And then used some kind of extension cord or something in the cell. And they got TVs and they got shit in there. So there's an ability to do that. Wrapped it around his throat and choked him to death, and then just let him sit in his bed until the cops found him in the morning. So it is what it is. And that, folks, is the way prison handles pedophiles. Is what it is. But that's my story on we have to go quite a bit earlier to get to it, but that's my story on probably the most I guess movie-like situation. Just that seeing this dude, he's leaking out his back and being walked off that yard, and it being so quiet. I could visualize that there's so much that is mischaracterized and not done properly and whatever in movies. It's just like, oh man, I know my wife probably gets tired of me saying, oh, that shit would never happen, and I do it. It just irritates me, but I still watch the shit because I like it. It's like Mayor of Kingstown. Love that show, but it's all bullshit. So yeah, it was exactly like something you'd see in the movie, and it was something that did happen in prison. I enjoy talking about, because I once in a while I do like talking about prison stuff, and I don't do it a lot. People ask a lot of questions, but I don't initiate a lot of conversation because I don't know how people are going to take it, because when I start talking about it, you know, my your personality gets a little different because the years of dealing with the things that any corrections officer has seen in a lengthy career, it messes with your mind a little bit, and you can become very, like, you got a switch that you got to turn off, um, to where you don't allow this horrific thing that you just saw to affect you and to take that home. I think I think prison made me a little harder, and it definitely made me more confident. But I think I did a fairly good job at turning that off and not really being this, mean type of person, and nothing bothers me, because shit does bother me. It definitely does. And, don't hurt an animal around me. We're going to have problems, but, things like that. I mean, just still, yeah, I can't tune certain things out. Pedophiles, I can't tune it out, man. I mean, nobody can. Who can? Nobody but a pedophile. But at any rate, I mean, thank God we have, you know, these officers that are so willing to go in and deal with the kind of shit that they deal with. And some of them can't really continue to deal with that shit. And I mean, there was absolutely people at Calipat that came in and that quit the job within days of starting. I'll tell you, man, I'm getting into another story, but I'm just going to tell you what happened on my first fucking day. All right. You got a week of training when you first arrive at a prison, and then you are on the job. Okay. You go in, and whatever training you got, that's the training you got. All right. And so I start on first watch, and first watch is like graveyard shift. Okay. Which supposedly, nothing happens. And actually, well, let me get to the story. So I walk in, and there's a big pool of blood right as I walk in. There's like a sally port. So it's a gate at both ends of this entryway into the unit. And it's probably like, I don't know, maybe 30 feet, 25, 30 feet long, maybe, if that. And gate on both ends. You come in one, it closes behind you, then the other one opens up. That way you have a secure area right there. You can open both of them if there's, the need to, but ideally movement is open, go in, close, open. Okay, so I come in, big pool of blood right in front of where the officer's podium is. It's just a little area officer stand and monitor the unit. I'm like, wow, what the fuck is this? It's my first day. And they're like, all right, rookie, go over and start cleaning up the cell. I'm like, what are you talking about? And there was a cell over on the A side. You have three sections, and this was a 270 building. So you've got A, B, C side. And on the A side, about halfway down, a cellie had stabbed his you call it a cellmate, cellie. Okay, so one cellie stabbed the other cellie. And and he stabbed him really well. All right, because there was blood splatter everywhere, blood everywhere, and the only direction I got was, hey, we need to get this cleaned up because we're gonna have somebody, moving in here tomorrow. Joint was full, so we didn't have the luxury of keeping anything open. And in that day, we didn't have. I mean, we had kind of PPE shit, to gown up and shit. We could have got it off from Frank. Hopefully you're watching, Frank. We probably could have got that shit from you, bro. Yeah, so we didn't really have that shit. You throw on some rubber gloves, but that was pretty much the extent of, I mean, I can't say we didn't have it. We had it, but really nobody used it very much. There was some training and stuff. I'm going to say that, but for the most part, you just get in there and get it clean and do what you got to do. Down the road, they ended up with a lot better, way to deal with that. But at that time, that was the way to handle it. But it was a shock to me just as a first day, here I'm a country boy that, I haven't seen all this shit. And I roll up and, here's my first day, blood everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Ended up being a, really enjoyable career. And I liked my job, loved my job. But yeah, that's how it started. And that's pretty much it, man. I hope you enjoy it. I didn't really get into, there's a lot of other shit that, oh my God, my mind goes crazy as I talk, because I think about other stories that I don't want to get into while I'm talking here. But if you guys enjoy this, this stuff, let me know. It's not for everybody, but let me know and say, hey man, that was cool. We enjoyed it. And, that way I know I'll do some more of this shit. And I think I said it on my other podcast. If you watched it, I would love to have some other, some other OG prison guards on and talk about their careers and stuff eventually, once I get this editing and shit figured out on this thing. I'd love to do that and kind of interview them. I'll have some prepared questions and stuff like that. It's I'm enjoying this. So I hope you are enjoying hearing it. And this is my thing now. All right. So guys, thank you very much. I'm going to once again, I'm going to close it out with my song, and you guys tune out anytime you want to. I'm going to let the song for a little while. Enjoy my cigar and my drink. Thank you very much. Ooh. Let's turn this shit up a little bit. If I can find the right button. Don't forget to share, guys. Share the episode. Hit that little share button. Peace out, guys. Peace out. Be safe.